Hi guys, investigative blogger Crystal Cox here, and I'm going to do a series of videos about Port Townsend news. I do a lot of videos on lots of different things, but this is about Port Townsend news. Those of you who have followed some of my stuff know I've done some different stuff on Port Townsend news, mostly on the Port Townsend paper mill and PT air watchers and what it is that's really going into the air and how it is that this needs to be stopped. What happens to the sludge, just a whole lot of issues. But today I want to talk to you folks about, it's just an overview. I just heard about this story and it's kind of an introduction to some videos I'm going to be doing on Port Townsend News, and I'm going to be interviewing some people involved. In this particular story, hopefully next week, I'm also going to be interviewing people on the Port Townsend paper mill. My email is crystal@crystalcox.com, and if you can't, for some reason, get that to work, you can email me at reverendcrystalcox@gmail.com. Anyway, I heard about this story, and it was at I guess it was about a week ago at the local public health meeting, and it was like about 2 in the afternoon. I don't know if you folks went or not. I didn't go to it. I just heard this story. Apparently, this guy rented a house in Port Townsend, and let me make sure this is still recording, and the landlord and the local cops. Now this is just alleged right now. I'm going to get a lot more to the story, and I'm also going to post documents. Again, email me if you want any information on this, because I'm going to report on this story, because that's what I do. I see a victim, something's bad's happened to them, and I kind of want to give them a voice, and I can't do it for a lot of people now. I do it through prayer. I know where I'm spiritually led, and for some reason this story I feel like I'm spiritually led to speak out on. So this guy rents this house in Port Townsend, and apparently it was a meth lab. There was meth there somehow. Okay, so the Department of Health doesn't have to tell the renter, apparently. The cops don't have to tell the renter. The landlord doesn't have to tell the renter. It's available for rent, and you can rent it, and nobody needs to tell you what happened prior. Okay, so he moves in, and I'm not sure if, I think he had a girlfriend that moved in or some family member, and they both got really, really sick. I'm not sure the health issues that came up, so I'm not going to discuss those, but some pretty bad stuff. So then they moved out of the house after they tested and found that this was a problem, and apparently they're still liable for their lease. Okay, bad news in itself. But also the landlord knew, right? Allegedly. The cops knew. Okay, so there's police reports. There's now the county commissioners know, I think, from this meeting. I'm not sure who knows what, but I'm going to post the documents. And in this, I just kind of wanted to give you folks some tips on what to do in a case like this, okay? I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you legal advice. I've been pro se for many years, and I just want to give you guys some ideas so that you don't feel helpless in situations like this, because everybody wants to shut you up. The cops are like, it's not our problem. The Department of Health's like, it's not our problem. Everybody's like, it's not our problem. Well, people are dying, or people are really sick. People are affected by what's not your problem. Okay, so the only way to deal with it and to help so that it doesn't happen to future victims is to make it their problem. Okay, so basically, if I was this guy and this happened to me, and again, not giving illegal advice, I would type out everything that happened, the chronology, like moved in on this particular date, this happened, this symptom. If you had a doctor's report, did it on this day, what did the doctor say? Okay, went to the police, they said this on this day. On this day I went to a public meeting and notified these people. Name everybody's names that you give it to, everybody's names that you talk to, all of this in a sworn affidavit, sign it, get it notarized. Okay, if I was you. And I would add this as evidence in your complaint. I would file a complaint with the local police. Odds are they're not going to do anything because they're going to protect probably local landlords or themselves or whatever. That's okay. Police do what they can to help, whatever. You're not going to, don't be rude to the police, don't be disrespectful, just get it documented. Say the landlord did this. Whoever you have proof that knew about it, file a police report. Okay, if you have that police report, then you can include that as evidence in your complaint. Okay, so you got your police report, you got your sworn statement, and when you file a complaint, if you're filing against, say, the state of Washington, it's not necessarily diversity. If you're filing against someone in another state, it's diversity, goes to a federal court. Again, not legal advice, just my own personal experience. So, I think you would probably file it in Olympia in a state court. So you would be the plaintiff, and then you have to file a civil cover sheet. So Google civil cover sheet, and then I go file type and then colon PDF, and then you'll get one and you can print it out and you put what your cause of action is. Okay, so you would Google some different cause of actions. It could be, you know, like harassment. In my case, it was defamation was against me. It could be Clean Air Act. It could be landlord laws. You know, whatever laws that you research, that you apply, that's your cause of action. And you can Google some complaints and get some examples. And then you want to put, you know, your background of the same thing you put in your sworn affidavit. On this date, this happened. On this date, this happened. On this date, this happened. And, you know, put a chronology of what happened and tie in all the different parties. And if you're going to name, say, the state of Washington, then you would also name anybody that you talk to, and you name the, you might name the police, you name the landlord, personally and professionally. Again, this is just an idea. If you know, if you're bleeding internally and you got all these bad issues from something somebody knew, and now they're renting it to other people, the only way to get the laws changed and to help future victims in this is to make noise on the docket and change the laws, okay? So, and in a way to do that, just in my personal opinion, I think suing the responsible parties is a good way to make it all visible. I'm sure a lot of people will criticize me for this, but they always do. But the thing is that you look at W.R. Grace, you look at that movie, A Civil Action, that was about W.R. Grace. You really have to bring a civil action to get discovery to do, sometimes, to go after these folks. And like W.R. Grace, I mean, people were dying year after year of asbestosis, and nobody was doing anything. A civil action is kind of what brought all the details out, and we won't go into that. I could talk about that all day and then some. Anyway, these are just some ideas. I'm going to hopefully interview the folks inside of this and post documents. Now, the idea, yes, is to get the story, this man's story, heard. I feel spiritually that I need to. I've never met him. I've never spoke to him. I just heard the story, and I feel like it's something that I want to speak out about, okay? So the idea then is to get this person's story and to get it documented on the docket, documented with the police, with the Department of Health, and change the laws in Jefferson County, Port Townsend, Montana, that's where I'm from, Port Townsend, Washington, and hopefully statewide, and then to grow from there. Because if you can re-rent a meth house, there's a problem. People are hurt, okay? The landlords are also a victim, okay? So having been a landlord myself, and I'm a real estate broker, I get it. So everybody just puts it under the rug, okay? So, okay, we have a renter that has a meth lab. Okay, the cops know, everybody knows, but we have a mortgage to pay, so we need to re-rent it so we can get that money. What do? I mean, is the landlord then just has to burn the house down and get rid of it? I mean, I think there should be some sort of insurance or state subsidy or like retribution or some sort of fund. I mean, what's the landlord's motive not to lie? I mean, you'd hope the landlord would want to be honest and have integrity, but at the same time, you know, a lot of people choose their own family over a stranger, right? So if the landlord's struggling and he needs to feed his family and he needs to pay his own mortgage and bills, and this is how he makes a living, how is he supposed to not re-rent it? Okay? So if the laws say he can't re-rent it, where's the landlord's liability and risk and, you know, and some fund to help the landlord? You know, and I guess, you know, how do you know? There's a whole lot to this, being a real estate broker, if you're, you know, renting to someone who's got a meth lab. I know that we learned a lot about it as a real estate broker. I've taken quite a few classes on the signs, and so maybe if you're going to lease a house, maybe you have to have a certain, maybe you have access to a certain fund or a certain insurance if you take certain classes to watch for the signs. I'm not sure what the solution is, but in order to get a solution, we need to make some noise and get the issue docketed. And so we're going to take, I'm not sure, I haven't met this person yet, but we're going to take this as an example to deal with this problem. I am a very spiritual person. I just started a church in Port Townsend, Bringing Back Goddess Church. I'm a real estate broker. I have a Washington real estate firm, Goddess Realty. I'm extremely passionate about victims of corruption and people that are suffering and in pain like this. And so all of these things kind of seem to go together with this situation. So I intend to talk a lot about it and interview the parties. And Goddess bless you all, and talk to you real soon on this issue. Bye-bye.